So there's kind of like a bit of maintenance going on there. That's
Always.
important as well. Yeah. And this is one of the things that, you know, cycling's such a mechanical motion. It's not like swimming or running.
Yeah.
It's quite mechanical. So you kind of, I mean, it's almost like you're kind of locked into a machine.
Well, you are locked into a single plane machine.
Yeah.
Okay. What you do on that machine in terms of the body
Yep.
will determine how much you can put through to the pedals and transmit into power.
So coming back to that, you know, the fact that you're locked into the machine, you really need to work on the maintenance. And I'm a big fan of maintenance. I'm a big fan of, you know, stretching and other exercises to help obviously alleviate some of the biomechanical, neurological, muscular type of patterns that we get into for cycling.
Yep.
That are, you know, detrimental to our health.
Yeah. Look, I mean, again, you know, the whole maintenance side of things for cyclists, because they spend so many hours on the bike, okay, is almost more important than the hours they spend on the bike.
Right. Yep.
Okay, because the more time they spend on the bike and not looking after themselves, the more time they're going to be locking down the hips, seizing up through the core, immobilizing the ankles, all that sort of stuff. Okay, the mobilizers on our DVD can be done on their own.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Okay,
easy.
We put it together with a functional strength program because the best solution we've found to date is that if you mobilize a complex and you create some extensibility in the tissues, you then need to also strengthen that.
Sure.
Okay, if you create some success in the motion, give it some strength.
Strength. Right. Great. Okay.
All right. So we've got the two on there for that purpose. But if you're time poor, and cyclists are, as are most people today, the mobility section, the mobilizer section of that DVD,
really important.
Is really important. You know, it's there's a big difference between doing mobilizers and doing static stretches.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, you know, obviously static stretches, you know, they've been common for a very long time. I used to do them, you know, as a kid.
Yep.
You get into this stretch and then you just kind of hold it.
Yep. If you go back a few years, David, you and I did them together.
Yes, we did. In fact, we spent a whole year doing that.
We did, didn't we?
I know, because, you know, I wanted to work on my flexibility. And we got some good results with our flexibility.
We did,
But really, did it translate into developing more strength? I didn't see any results from that.
No.
But the interesting thing was that once I started working more on the mobilizers, you know, it was like, and you don't have to spend too much time on it.
No.
You get some really good results, and that was what I quite enjoyed about the mobilizers.
So your question was pretty much what's the difference between a mobilizer and what we'll call a traditional static stretch, and probably even a dynamic stretch. Okay. Now, if we look at traditional static stretches, the format was, okay, you take the muscle to a range of motion. Okay, you may be sitting, you know, standing, whatever it is, doing the hamstrings, for example. Okay, you'd bend towards your toes. You get a stretch in the hamstring, maybe even a little bit in the calf. You would hold it there for 20 seconds. Okay, now there is a certain amount of neurological response that goes on there, which is just called the stretch reflex. After about 10 seconds, that would allow the muscle to relax, and you could gain a further range of motion. Okay, so what you were doing there is by creating a tension in what we call the myofascial system, which is again the muscles and the connective tissue. Okay, you would stimulate a proprioceptor, which is called the Golgi tendon organ. Okay, that exists within that what we call the musculotendinous junction. So where that belly of the muscle is, and the tendon come together, and then the tendon is the part that attaches to the bone. Okay, there are these proprioceptors that sit there to sense tension. And when they're stimulated through an increase in tension, they then tell the muscle spindles, which is another proprioceptors that exist within the muscle belly, they then tell them to switch off, relax, and allow extensibility in that muscle.
Greater stretch.
Okay, greater stretch. That's fine. The problem with that is that if you switch off the muscle spindles, which are there to cause the muscle to contract if it's under lengthening tension, you are then creating a muscle which is not working momentarily. Now, you may have done some stretches, and I know we did some at times, especially the adductor stretch where you have the feet wide apart. Okay, And you would notice that trying to come out of that, it was really hard.
Really hard to come out of those stretches.
You just couldn't communicate to your legs.
There was no, it's like you into the stretch and then it's like you actually have to move around to get your
to get them working again.
Get them working again.
Now, look, think of that. What you just said there is perfect. You had to move to get them working. And that is it. That's the beauty of the body, is that you've got to move it to get it to work. You've got to move the muscles to pump the vascular system. You've got to move the muscles to get the lymphatic system. You've got to move to get those proprioceptors going. Okay? If you're going to perform an activity that is dynamic in nature, and cycling is, okay, if you're switching off muscles prior to getting onto that bike, they're not going to be 100% for you.
No.
They will come on over a period of time, and there is a period of time in which it takes to come back to normal. They will come on and start to work over a period of time. But in that period of time, recent researchers say there's a decrease of up to 30% in muscular output.
Wow.
From doing static stretching prior to doing a dynamic activity.
Yep.
Okay.
30%. So
30%.
So those people that are warming up and doing static stretches prior to doing their sport, you're saying that there's a drop. Now, how long does that 30% last for?
It has been known to last up to a couple of hours.
Couple of hours?
Yeah. Look, it would fade, obviously, over that period of time, but there is a decreased output for up to a couple of hours.
So you do some stretching before your criterium.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you're going to be less stronger.
Yep, definitely. Because you've sort of, in a way, you've switched off the nervous system.
Right.
Motion can't occur properly, effectively, efficiently if those proprioceptors, which is the nervous system, aren't firing 100%.
Yeah, amazing. All right. So that's incredible. Now, obviously, mobilisers.
Okay. So mobilisers at the other end of the scale. All right. Mobility, that's what it comes from. Okay. Now, all movement is about mobility. Yep. Be it great or small.
Well, the body's designed to move. And that's one thing that you told me as well. The body's designed to move.
It's designed to move. Okay. Designed to move in many different directions and not in repetitive patterns. Okay. So mobilisers initiates subtle motion.
Sure.
And if you look at the mobilisers in the DVD that we've done, those subtle motions occur again at the ankle, a hip, and the thoracic spine.
Sure.
All at the same time.
Yep.
They may be greater in one area than another.
Sure. Subtle movements, and bigger movements elsewhere.
Exactly. So I'll still do an ankle mobiliser, and I'll call it and I'll label it an ankle mobiliser. But I know it's still going to have something going on at the hips, and I know it's still going to have something going on at the thoracic spine.
Right.
Okay. And that's the beauty of integration. Okay. Is that it uses the whole body, and there's a chain reaction, and whatever's small down here will become great up there, or even vice versa. Okay, so mobility is about getting what we call your comfortable range of motion rather than forcing it into a range.
Right.
Okay, your comfortable range of motion, taking it there and coming back in slow, controlled patterns. Okay, and they're not held for any point of time. It's just a continual motion. Now, I spoke before about two proprioceptors, the GTOs, which are the Golgi tendon organs at that muscular tendinous junction, and the muscle spindles. Okay. Now, we used to really just be concerned with what was happening in the muscle spindles.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Because that's the muscle part, and that's what creates the power, and it does. That's what muscle does. That's its whole function. I've also briefly mentioned the fascial system, the myofascial system. You can't separate the two. You actually can't separate fascia from anything.
Right, okay.
Okay.
How do you mean you can't separate them?
All right. There are three systems in the body that if you remove every other cell, such as there's the nervous system, the vascular system, and the fascial system, okay? Say we were just looking at the nervous system.
Right, okay.
If we removed every other cell that is not part of the nervous system, you would have an almost complete map of the human body. It's that extensive. Do you understand?
Okay,
All right. Vascular system. Let's look at that. So all the blood vessels. If we remove every other tissue in the body that's not part of the vascular system, you would have a complete replica because blood goes everywhere. Three-dimensional organs, around bones,
there'd be a little
muscles.
bit of space.
There'd be space. You could see through it. But what I'm saying is that on its own
Yep, complete.
Is an extensive system.
Right, okay.
The fascial system.
Yep.
Okay. The fascial system, we used to think, and medical science used to look at it in this term. When we say fascia to the medical fraternity, they think tendons, ligaments, joint capsules.
Sure, okay.
Okay, those thick bands of sinewy material at the ends of muscle and the ones that join bone to bone.
Right, okay.
Okay, that was their perception of what fascia is.
Yep.
Fascia is far more extensive than that. Fascia envelops every cell, envelops every spindle, envelops every muscle belly, envelops every bone, nerve, vein, artery, you name it, it's there. It holds everything together. It was thought to be quite innate. You'd remove it.
Didn't really matter.
Didn't matter. Doesn't, you know, we have this stuff, but it doesn't matter.
But that's that doesn't make sense, because if it's in the body, there must be a reason for it. I mean, there's not a lot of redundancy in a human body, is there?
No, look, we've spent millions of years trying to perfect it. Okay, and we've done it without having to think about it. All right. So this fascia, if we look at it, and it doesn't exist on its own. Okay, but it's part that we need to take into consideration these days. When you look at fascia in, say, a cadaver, so a dead body, okay, it's just that sinew that you see on meat. It doesn't look like much.
No.
In a living organism, such as us, you and me, I believe.
Right now.
Okay, there's all this other stuff, and we call it the extracellular matrix, which is all the gluey, watery, fluidy, sinewy sort of stuff that envelops everything in the body.
Right,
okay, that's fascia. Now, the importance of having all that there is that it allows the body to mitigate stress. And I'm talking a movement and a motion sense.
Not a stress that, I need to pay the bills this week. And
it has an effect on that too.
Okay, all right. But you're talking about more of a stress.
More mechanical stress.
More mechanical stress,
Okay, let's stick with the mechanical stress. Okay. When it's in a good state, it's fluffy.
Right,
it's not sinewy. It's not bound around everything. There is space there, and there is fluid moving. Okay? Now, the fibres of fascia have tiny little, I suppose you could call them fibres, that like to grab onto water. Okay? That water allows motion through that fascial system. It allows muscles to move over each other. Okay? If you have, say, an activity we're doing right now, sitting down. Okay? I'm sitting on my backside. My glutes are being stretched. I'm sitting on them. I'm compressing them. I'm not moving them. All the water that sits within that fascia is being compressed out. So those little fibres that retain water have lost it. So they start to bunch up. And the tissue starts to glue up. Which means the muscles and everything else that relate to it don't move as well. You'll get motion, but it won't be successful motion. All right, so the terminology is, we have two terminologies of hydration when we're talking about fascia. We have bound and unbound. Okay, so somebody that drinks enough water but doesn't move will have unbound hydration. Unbound fluid. It's not sitting within the fascial cells. Okay, it's not serving a purpose. It's just around in the body. Okay, it's not part of the fascial system because it's being compressed out in certain areas. Then you've got bound. Okay, now motion within that fascial system allows those little fibres to take up the water again. Okay. So, and I'm going to divert back to the mobilizers. The subtle motion we do in mobilizers allows the tissue, the fascial tissue, to take up the water again. Sometimes it needs a little bit of help, and you and I have done a bit of foam roller work before. Okay, that can assist in it.
Really helps.
Okay, the two together, mobilizers and foam roller, beautiful. Beautiful. So we want bound hydration. We want enough water in the system.
That's the holy grail.
It is part of the holy grail. It's part of the picture. Look, the body's the holy grail. It's a part of it, and without it, you're going to have compromised movement. Okay, so the mobilizers are there not only to allow extensibility in the tissues, but it also allow that that fluid to come back into that fascial system,
okay.
fluff it up and allow the muscles to slide and glide over each other. Muscles don't just work on their own. They transmit forces from one to another. Okay? They don't just work up and down. They will twist, they will roll over each other as you're riding a bike. Okay? And it's important that that happens with enough hydration, with enough water in there.
Okay. So you need to be hydrated.
You do need to be hydrated properly.
And it's kind of like, you know, when you're sitting on a chair forever, you get up and it's like you actually feel like you need to move around, and that just helps. Helps.
That's perfect. It helps. Movement helps. As I'm sitting here, my hip, anterior hip, is just doing nothing. It's short and the tissue's just going, thank you very much. And my butt muscles are going, where's the fluid I need?
And this is the really important, and this is one of the keys. It's like a lot of people are office bound, you know, sitting behind a desk all day, and this is a lot of the athletes that I coach, you know, they're professionals, and that's what they spend all day doing, is sitting behind a desk. So for me, it's really, you know, the functional strength training really becomes very, very important in being able to fire these athletes up.